Good afternoon. I'm Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, and I'm very proud to be standing here today with New York City Department of Investigations Commissioner Mark Peters and with Inspector General from his office, Inspector General Jessica Hegan, Ralph Iannuzzi, and Maria Moestajo, and Deputy Inspector General David Jordan. These were complicated cases, and a lot of folks worked on them. From my own office, we're joined by Executive Deputy Attorney General Alvin Bragg and our great Labor Bureau Chief Terry Gerstein and Assistant Attorney General Matt Ross. Let me just say at the outset that I have zero tolerance for businesses that cheat their workers out of hard-earned wages. And let me note that stealing wages is also an illegal way that sleazy business people try to get a leg up on legitimate business owners that follow the law. We will not stand by and let that happen in New York. Every business must play by the same set of rules. And I'm proud to stand with our partners today, great colleagues in law enforcement and in government, to announce the arrest of several New York City subcontractors who allegedly underpaid their employees by almost $1 million. As we allege in indictments and complaints unsealed today, these subcontractors worked on school and affordable housing projects in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx, and we've identified the locations here on this chart. As a condition of working on public works projects, these subcontractors were legally required to pay the prevailing wage to their employees. Prevailing wage rates are set by various government agencies, and the law is clear about the obligation to pay them in full for construction or renovation work on any public buildings. There are few construction projects more important to our community than affordable housing and schools. No contractor or subcontractor has the right to these contracts. You have to earn the right to build the homes in which our neighbors will live and the public schools in which our children will learn. You have a responsibility to follow the rules. In the complaints and indictments today, we allege that these subcontractors had no concern for the responsibilities they had to the communities in which they work or to the workers on their payroll. One of the employers we arrested earlier today, Sergio Raimundo, withheld approximately $800,000 from his employees who were doing vital structural work on the Sugar Hill housing project in Harlem. And in order to cover up the underpayments, Raimundo allegedly created false payroll checks that he claimed were endorsed by the workers when in fact they were not. Another employer arrested this morning, Jagdish Singh, allegedly required his employees working on a public housing project in Pominock in Queens to kick back a portion of their weekly wages under the threat of termination. The value of the kickback fluctuated from week to week according to Singh's whims, adding insult to injury by making it impossible for these employees to budget their already diminished salaries. The remaining three employers that we arrested earlier today were subcontractors hired to perform renovation work at PS7, an elementary school in the Bronx. Shamas Mian and Tariq Mahmood, both masonry subcontractors, we allege, worked in concert with Baldev Singh, who went by the nickname Lucky, which he will have to change after the events of the last few months, to underpay the laborers helping to renovate the school by more than $125,000. These arrests are the latest step in a cooperative multi-agency effort to root out prevailing wage fraud that we have undertaken with the Department of Investigations. In December, we arrested three subcontractors working on projects in Brooklyn and Queens, including Baldev Lucky Singh, who is now facing multiple indictments. In addition to DOI, my office has worked with the New York City Comptroller and the Department of Housing and Preservation Development to bring an unprecedented level of scrutiny to public works projects. These are all subject to the prevailing wage laws, and we have benefited greatly from the help of organizations like the Laborers Eastern Region Organizing Fund, which has helped refer the Sugar Hill case to my office, as well as other advocacy groups. We're not just bringing criminal actions, ladies and gentlemen, we're also pursuing civil recovery of back wages lost by workers. The reality is that subcontractors often can't pay back the wages they owe their workers and putting a dishonest boss in jail doesn't mean much to a worker without enough money to feed his family. Fortunately, under the civil provisions of New York's prevailing wage law, which we can enforce, general contractors are financially responsible for the underpayment of wages by subcontractors. And we are announcing today that the general contractor managing the project for PS7 in the Bronx has entered into an agreement with the New York City School Construction Authority to pay nearly $300,000 to cover the underpayment of wages and benefits to 8 workers. I'm also pleased to report that the general contractor who worked on the public school PS 196 in Brooklyn, where we arrested a subcontractor in one of our December indictments, has also agreed to pay nearly $320,000 in underpaid wages and benefits. The Office of the Attorney General takes a comprehensive approach towards prevailing wage theft. Using every legal tool available, we are seeking to make workers whole. We're taking money out of the pockets of dishonest employers, and we're indicting criminals who seek to steal wages. As I've said before, wage theft is a crime. It is like car theft or the theft of your wallet, and America is awash in an epidemic, a crime wave of wage theft. I will pursue wage thieves wherever I can, and it's important for us to emphasize that New York's labor laws are not optional. New York's labor laws are the law, and if you break them, you do so at your peril. My office, along with DOI, the Controller, and HPD, are prepared to use any means necessary to enforce these laws. We've gathered intelligence from local unions and labor rights organizations. We've even wired up workers to secretly record conversations. So our message today to employers who are underpaying their hardworking employees is that our eyes and ears are everywhere. You should follow the law, because if you steal from your workers, we will find you. And to any workers who are being cheated out of their wages, bring us your evidence. Our door is always open. Over the last 4 years, my Labor Bureau has recovered almost $20 million for more than 16,000 employees, and we're just getting started. En español es muy fácil. Los obreros de la construcción trabajan duro por su salario, deben recibir su pago completo. And with that, I want to introduce the DOI Commissioner, Mark Peters, a vital partner in our work to protect workers of the City of New York from illegal exploitation, and someone with a true and deep commitment to the cause of justice for working New Yorkers. Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank Attorney General Schneiderman and his team of prosecutors who worked so diligently with DOI to uncover the facts in these criminal cases and stop the abuse of these frontline workers. DOI is fortunate to have such a dedicated law enforcement partner, so thank you. Prevailing wage fraud steals from the workers who refurbish and construct our public schools, our city housing, and our other municipal projects. It establishes a workplace built on deceitful practices, laying the foundation for other wrongdoing at these construction sites. So far this year, DOI has worked with our law enforcement partner agencies, including the Attorney General's office, on investigations that have led to the arrest of more than 60 individuals for construction-related crimes in 4 boroughs, including not only wage theft, but bribery, official misconduct, and falsification of safety credentials. As today's arrests demonstrate, we will continue to be vigilant in this area. DOI's citywide oversight allows a unique vantage point to find these types of construction-related crimes. Our expertise in how both the city and the construction industry operate gives us depth of knowledge. Our broad jurisdiction, with inspectors general covering the vast landscape of the city, including NYCHA, the School Construction Authority, and the City Department of Housing Preservation and Development, gives us the ability to make connections across agencies and projects. By way of example, in the case of PS 196K, which was part of the earlier arrests in this initiative involving one of the same defendants, Investigators from the Office of the Inspector General for the School Construction Authority acted on a tip and followed up with a routine visit to the site. Ultimately, they uncovered a scheme, as outlined in the indictment, in which several labor brokers were shaking down employees for kickbacks from the employees' paychecks. When the SCA Inspector General uncovered information that these brokers were taking their illegal ruse literally on the road to a NYCHA project in Queens, DOI was able to quickly mobilize investigators from its Office of the Inspector General for NYCHA. These investigators then worked the case to get to the facts and stop the fraud at the second site. This investigation successfully shut down the ongoing theft and, in the case of PS 196K, exposed and stopped a draconian environment where workers were prohibited from drinking water on a hot summer day so that they would not have to then take time away from their labors to use the bathroom. Further, workers were told not to bring meals to the construction site. When they did, much like a bully at school, the labor brokers took their meals away. These workers had little recourse but to follow these dictums. Indeed, that predicament is what makes these cases so difficult to crack and so difficult to persuade witnesses to contact law enforcement. Despite that challenge, workers are stepping forward. For those who did, I commend you. It was courageous and integral to the success of this investigation. Another essential aspect of the investigation was DOI's use of integrity monitors in overseeing large city-funded projects. These integrity monitors report directly to DOI and are on these sites daily, interviewing workers, reviewing logs and records, and keeping in contact with DOI investigators. When one of DOI's integrity monitors learned that potential kickbacks were happening on construction at the Palmanock housing complex in Queens, they reported that information to us. Their tip led DOI investigators to uncover workers who were forced to hand over thousands of dollars from their paychecks under the threat of termination, according to the charges. This type of coordination and cooperation with our partners and the tremendous hard work by the Attorney General with whom we have collaborated before and with whom we expect to collaborate again because their office has been so involved in breaking the back of this kind of crime. That hard work is essential to protect all workers and all New Yorkers. I want to thank my colleagues at DOI who meticulously gathered the facts, especially Inspectors General Greg Cho, Jessica Hegan, Ralph Iannuzzi, and Maria Mastajo, Deputy Inspector General David Jordan, Senior Associate Commissioner Mike Carroll, Associate Commissioner Bill Jorgensen, Chief of Investigations John Cantor, First Deputy Commissioner Leslie Brovner, and a team of investigators who are too numerous to name individually, but who did a terrific job. I also want to thank SCA President Lorraine Grillo and her staff who worked hand in hand with our investigators to make the case, NYCHA Chairwoman Shola Olatoye, and HPD Commissioner Vicky Bean for their cooperation and assistance with these investigations. This joint effort sends the strong message that prevailing wages must be paid, and this city will work together to identify and stop corruption and fraud wherever it exists. Thank you.
Thank you. And, Mr. Grace, you're going to take some on-topic questions?
Any on-topic questions first, please?
Yes.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure, Greg Smith from the Daily News. General contractors are liable, and I think you just said the two elementary schools. What about the sugar company? What about
Well, the first step of these cases is we start with the criminal process and initially seek restitution from the subcontractors. If the subcontractors can't pay, we then can proceed to get payment from the general contractors. But we've just indicted and grabbed these people today, so we have to follow the process first. But we'll get the workers their back pay one way or the other.
So, all right, so in other words, if the subs don't come up with the money, you go after the generals on Sugar Hill and Palmanock. Correct.
And that does not mean that the general contractors were in on the scheme. By they accept this responsibility, which imposes a burden on them to supervise subcontractors. That's part of our legal framework.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about this, taking someone's lunch away and not letting them drink water? Just give us a little sense of what exactly, how that all worked.
Sure. The labor brokers here were truly, on this site, they were truly abusive. And in addition to stealing wages, and let's just call it stealing wages, because this is as much stealing as if you lift someone's wallet. In addition to that, they ran an abusive site in which they threatened workers. They wouldn't let workers, on many instances on hot days, go and get water because they didn't want them to then take time out to go to the bathroom. We had workers reporting that they would literally steal people's lunches. People would bring some food with them because they were going to be working a long day, a long, hard day. And they were literally stealing, not only were they stealing their wages, but then they went back and stole their lunches as well. It was a really abusive environment. And working, and the investigators in our office and in the Attorney General's office did a great job of putting that part of the case together, and I really want to commend them for it. The
Lunches.
The lunches were at 196K. The stealing of the lunches and the water was at 196K.
196K, that was also the same sub as common.
Yes. I'm sorry, yes.
Yes. This is unlucky.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.